Good morning or good afternoon or whatever it is where you are. This is Rob Smith. I'm the founder and creator of the Drone Advantage podcast and the founder of the Tampa Bay franchise of Blue Nose Aerial Imaging here in beautiful St. Croix, U.S. Virgin Islands. Here for a job. We got called down to do a roof inspection. Flew out on Sunday and did the job yesterday on Monday. It was a 95,000 square foot school building that sustained some hurricane damage several years ago, and they're finally getting around to fixing the third of three buildings on this school complex. And I just wanted to talk to you a little bit today about, just for a couple of minutes, I just wanted to talk to you about how to be prepared for a big job, especially when it's out of town. We didn't just drive to the Virgin Islands. We had to get on, JetBlue and fly down here. And there's some logistics that you have to think about when you're doing something like that. You have to think about, some of the infrastructure that you might have in place when you go do a drone job, you don't have available in a remote place like this. So, for example, I always have a DJI power bank to charge my batteries. I was not able to carry that down here because you're not allowed to fly with batteries that big. You can't check them in your luggage. I checked out shipping it down via UPS and FedEx. That wasn't going to work out. I checked out trying to rent one on the island, and that didn't work out. So when you're flying out of town or doing a big job somewhere other than a location that you're used to, there's a lot of pre-planning that you have to do. So just getting power was one of my very first considerations, and it turns out we were able to utilize the office in the building and utilize their one outlet that they had available for us, and just keep batteries, flowing in and out of the charger so that the drone can operate continuously. But some other considerations: we're under a Class D or Delta airspace here, which means that you have to have airspace authorization to fly here. And it just turns out that this area is approved for auto approval via Lance up to 400 feet. I was able to secure that airspace authorization for the date and time that I needed. That was no issue at all. As some of you are well aware, DJI just dropped all of their geofencing in their software. When was it? A month and a half ago? So just like everybody else, I updated my DJI software on the drones and the controllers, and I have flown lots of times in the U.S. since then, even in restricted zones with, of course, airspace authorizations, flying legally. Everybody make sure that you're following your Part 107 regulations. Had no issues at all. So I get down here to St. Croix, and I get out to the school, and didn't even occur to me that this might happen, but I got out to the school, turned on the drone, and it said, hey, your fly safe needs updated. Your restricted airspace zones need updated. Okay, fine. So I connected to the hotspot, I updated it, and then I went to take off, and it said, you are in a restricted zone and you have to have unlock approval. And I'm like, I thought we didn't have to do this anymore. So ChatGPT to the rescue. So I ChatGPT'd, hey, what's going on? Do I need airspace authorization here or not? I thought this was a thing of the past. And ChatGPT, not so much for the win this time, said, yes, if you're in the Virgin Islands, that's not the contiguous 48 states, and yes, you need still authorization approval. And I thought, oh man. So I got on DJI's Fly Safe real quick, and I applied for the approval, which it said would come in 1 to 2 days. I had exactly just then to do this flight. The contractor, the project manager that I was working with, only had yesterday to be on site. So I emailed DJI an urgent email asking, hey, can we please fast forward this because I have to fly? And they emailed back and said, and they emailed back very quickly, by the way. Within 20 minutes, I got an email back from DJI support that said, denied. Your request is denied, but only because you don't need it. You can fly. And I'm like, my drone will not take off. So I shut everything down and turned it back on, and apparently that's what you had to do. And then everything updated, and my drone flew normally. So we got that worked out. So that was the second problem. So the first was just trying to get power. The second was the authorization to actually fly the drone. This is not the drone I flew. This is a DJI Mini 4. We're going to come to this in just a minute here. So I did a pretty big project here. I did an orthomosaic map for the project manager so that he could really zone in on areas that he wanted the most photos of. And then I did what I consider inspection photos. It's the same as doing the same type of flight as a 2D orthomosaic, except instead of 70% overlap on the photos, I just did a 20% overlap on the photos, so he could just use these for inspection, nadir angle images of the rooftop, and didn't have to sift through so much overlap. And then I did a perimeter all the way around the building on the top, and there's a second level. I did a perimeter around the building on that. And then after inspecting some of the photos, he decided he wanted an oblique on the top and underneath to get the soffit. So I flew a little bit higher, about 5 feet from the building. Got some really nice inspection photos all the way across the outside perimeter on the top and on the second level, all the way around the outside perimeter on that. And it was pretty windy that day, and this complex is kind of a rectangular shape, and there was kind of some wind tunnels that formed in there. And you know, when the wind is 15 gusts into 20 or so in that wind tunnel, I think that maybe I was getting a little bit more wind than that. So what happened, I'm flying my Mavic 3 Enterprise. I was doing the upward angle, getting underneath the soffit on the east side of the building, and a gust of wind came and pushed me right into one of the pillars on the building. So the props hit the pillars, the aircraft came down, all 4 props were broken. Didn't appear to be too much damage on the drone, just some scuffs and scrapes. And I am going to have to send it into DJI. I do have the DJI Care because the lens on the zoom camera is cracked, but the lens on the wide angle camera seemed to be just fine. So I replaced the props, put the aircraft back in the air, and checked. I did a pre-flight. All the controls were working normally. Everything was working normally. I went back and I started from where the mishap was, and I continued, and everything on the screen looks great. I took, I don't know, maybe 400 or 500 photos after that, and then we went inside. I thought we had everything. We went inside, scanned all the photos on the computer just to make sure that we had everything we needed. And everything I took after the crash was super overexposed. And I mean, just completely like white and washed out. So I tried to salvage this by basically setting the camera up in a manual mode to let as little light as possible in. On the Mavic 3, that means an aperture setting of 11, a shutter speed of 1/2000, an ISO of 100. And I went out and I took some photos with those settings, and the photos actually looked pretty good. Thought that I kind of was going to salvage this, and so I took, I retook a lot of those photos, especially inside the courtyard, and upon inspection of those photos, they were just a little blurry. And the project manager was happy with them. He said that he could see the damage that he needs to see, and that they were fine. I went back to our Airbnb. I went through the photos, and that's just not work that I want to deliver. So I sent him a message and I said, I know you have a flight in the morning. I am going to go back in the morning and reshoot those photos, those post-accident photos, because I'm not happy with them. Even if you are, I'm not. And DJI Mini 4 Pro to the rescue. So we took this sucker out there, and I reshot all of the photos that were post-crash photos with this little guy, and they look beautiful. That's a little slow going. I use the timed photo shoot when I do manual flights like this, when I'm just going sideways across the building, moving laterally. On the Mavic 3 Enterprise, I set the camera to a 2-second timed shot, and I just fly across. and just let the camera take a photo every 2 seconds, and I'm just making sure on the screen that I have overlap in every photo. This doesn't have a 2-second timer. The fastest timer the Mini 4 Pro has is a 5-second timer. So I had to set it to take a shot every 5 seconds, which means my traverse speed across the building was about 0.7 miles an hour instead of 2 miles an hour. So less than half the speed, which makes sense because 5 seconds is more than twice 2 seconds. So anyway, the point of this was just one, to talk to you a little bit about preparing for a big trip and making sure that you have backup plans in place. Had I not had a spare drone with me, I would have been able to deliver, I believe, and make the project manager happy. It would not have been work that I want my name attached to. I want nice, clear photos of everything. So I was happy to go back. And of course, you know, you don't charge for something like that. That was our screw up. So we went back for that at no charge. And the second reason I wanted to do this here is because look at this lighthouse. This is Hams Bluff Lighthouse here on St. Croix. And it was a pretty decent hike up here. It wasn't that long, maybe a half mile, 10-15 minutes to get up here. But man, I live by the ocean. And I know we're right by the ocean here too, but we're like several hundred feet above the ocean. And of course the air is so thin at several hundred feet. I'm just kidding. But maybe a little bit out of shape. Probably need to work on that. But this beautiful lighthouse, well, it's not really that beautiful, is it? So this lighthouse is this old, decrepit, rusted out thing. It actually gets no service. There's nobody or no organization improving the lighthouse. But it is a tetanus shot waiting to happen, I think. And the good news is that we are up to date on our tetanus shots. There's a ladder, 2 ladders actually, that go up to the top of this thing. And the floors are rusted through. Make sure you're stepping on the I-beams because you don't know if the floors can hold you. And the ladders don't have all the rungs. And in one place it's missing 2 rungs in a row. And they're pretty big steps to begin with. So that's a pretty big step to get up the ladder. But anyway, we went up. The view's beautiful. We're right here on the bluff. The ocean's down there. It's sailboats out and mountains and rainforest behind us. This really is beautiful. But anyway, I am Rob again with the Drone Advantage podcast in Tampa Bay's franchise of Blue Nose Aerial Imaging. Stay safe out there and keep all of your business decisions below 400 feet.